Hey everybody, welcome back to Mullin Farm. Those of you who are new to watching our channel, I'm Lance. I farm here with my wife Claire and our 5 kids, and we're sort of in the early stages of our regen journey, really sort of trying to get stuck in and follow that path to sort of some more sustainable farming, and farming in a way that's a bit more natural and maybe works with nature a bit better. For the first year this year we've grown what's called a mixed summer crop. So we planted this really cool mixed summer crop, which in an area that we would have otherwise planted turnips with, that had sort of 23, I think it was 23 different species in it. So I won't ramble off all the species now because I can't remember. I always get to about 10 and sort of forget. But if you really are interested, I've done a couple of earlier videos. One when the seed had arrived and just discussing what the seeds were and the reasons for using those different seeds, and then I did another one of us cultivating the paddock and planting the seeds. So if you're interested in that, it would be sort of worth going back and having a look at some of them. So yeah, unfortunately we also had an amazing germination of weed seedlings. So these 2 paddocks that we did, the reason I was doing them, regrassing them as such, was because they've both been long-term effluent paddocks and just seem to have pretty much every weed under the sun in them. Some of you will remember that I sort of talked about that I still sprayed these paddocks out with glyphosate, even though it's not really in the to-do thing with regen farming. But my sort of argument at the time was, I knew how weedy these paddocks were. The one I'm standing in here, particularly with willow weed, and I didn't want those weeds to come back and just take over the crop. Unfortunately, they came back anyway. So that's a lesson learnt for me. I think going forward, I will probably try to basically do all the same things we did but without the spraying. Maybe mow the paddock or get the cows to graze it down really hard somehow, just to save the environment, that glyphosate, but also save us some money and save us a job. We don't have to drive around and spray it. Had an amazing germination. The weeds also germinated crazy. Part of that was because it's being effluent paddocks, talking to Greg about all your levels of NP and K and stuff are all a bit out of whack, so there's lots of weeds there that are just waiting to go for it. But his sort of, the way he said was, if you'd planted this paddock this time of the year, you wouldn't have had that problem though, because you don't have those spring seedlings ready to bolt. But anyway, we didn't have that chance. We'd already planted it by then, so we kept a really good close eye on it. Greg's suggestion when he came out to one of our farm visits was we may have to mow it before it was mature and graze it, just to especially that there was, the willow weed was a big one, and some other of the sort of nightshade family plants. But it turned out we had a really good growth from the crop. For the most part, it was up above those weeds, the oats and the millet, sunflowers, obviously phacelia and all that sort of stuff. So we chose not to mow it in front of the cows. So grazed this paddock we're standing in first because it was the weediest. It was parts of it were really full of willow weed. Parts of it weren't. There was parts that were great, but the willow weed was the big one. Grazed it. The cows knocked that down quite well, but I sort of wasn't really happy with quite what they'd done. And those of you that've got willow weed or have had any experience with willow weed will know, the cows don't eat it. And by that stage it was about this much above the regrowth, and if I'd just left it, it would have smothered everything that was trying to regrow. So got in after the cows had grazed the paddock and mowed it. So all that basically meant was we chopped our sunflowers off, which didn't matter too much at that stage because most of them had started to drop their seed heads drop their flowers anyway, or drop their heads anyway. So we mowed it and it actually came back amazingly well. I'm really stoked with how it's come back. The second paddock, which is just over here, I'll show you in a little bit, had nowhere near the weed problem that this first paddock did. Had a bit of callies, which weren't a problem, but we didn't really have that willow weed or those other nightshade family plants in that one. So that one I just grazed with the cows, break fed it, and just left it, and it's grown back really well. So unfortunately I don't have any videos of the crop. I should have come out here and done it, but we were just taking a bit of a break from filming there for a little while, and I didn't get a chance to film any, sorry, but we got some really cool photos. I will try and get Claire to incorporate some of the photos in them. I'm sure you might be able to put one here and here. I'll see how good her skills are. She'll probably hate me for saying that. But no, really loved the whole process. First day we put the cows in it, they just walked around the outside of the break confused. Second day they were absolutely into it. It was a really cool crop to watch grow. So it sort of grew in stages, and then it was, you know, certain things germinated at different speeds. So, you know, one of our favorites was, you know, obviously the sunflowers just looked incredible once they were all up and going. But Phacelia was another one that we really liked. So that was just like for a stage there before the sunflowers started flowering, it was Phacelia was all you could see, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Smelled amazing. The bees loved it. Phacelia is a really cool plant in its ability to suck up excess nitrogen and phosphate out of the ground. So that was a really cool one for me for planting it in effluent paddocks, just knowing that some of those levels were out of whack. So it can suck it up, and then actually, through the magic of plants, the things they can do, make that available to other plants in the pasture, or in the crop, yeah, pasture. So that grew really well. The peas and beans were awesome, just seeing them grow. Sunflowers looked amazing, I said. Yeah, the vetches looked really cool. Loved the vetches, actually. So the finished crop was up above my head. I know I'm only about 5'6", I'm not tall, but it was really cool. The vetches would grow right up the plants, up the sunflowers and all that sort of stuff, and then start creeping along the top of the canopy. Yeah, oats and millet, they did really well. What else was in here? Yeah, other plants, I'm going to forget some stuff. Oh, the daikon radish, they were really cool. We probably missed out on the big bulbs of the daikon a little bit, so it's just the way they grow sometimes. Probably due to the weather, they bolted a bit, so we had to stalk and seed. We still got feed out of it, but probably missed a bit of that. Although they did still have reasonable bulbs, and, you know, a part of the reason for growing the daikon radish is to break up the soil. So, you know, that, I think we still got some of that benefit. The rape grew really well. The chicory and plantain, we didn't see a huge amount of it in the crop, but that's growing amazingly now. Chard grew really well, or silver beet, to those who know it as silver beet instead. So yeah, whole crop went really, really great. I think, like I said, next year we won't spray the paddock out beforehand. I'll do the same as far as cultivating it and stuff. Then what I think I'll do, so I'll get the seed bed ready, wait till it rains and let those weed seedlings germinate. And then some of you would have seen in some of our other videos, we have a thing called a weeder. So it's a Ferguson weeder from back in the 1940s and 50s, which we actually, I think we did a video of it weeding our potatoes. So we use it to weed our potato crop. And all it is it's about 3 meters wide, I suppose. All it has these little finely sprung tines on the back of it, and they just go through and basically flick the weed seedlings out of the ground. The idea with the multi-species crop we did was that, you know, you put your clovers and your grasses in with it, and they will eventually take over from the brassicas and so on. The grasses have been a little bit slow to come. He sort of said it's really hard to know. Sometimes they just come one day, you just notice they're there. Sometimes you'll just graze it as it is for a year, and then maybe have to undersow a little bit, say this time next year, so April, May next year. So I've chosen not to graze it again yet, just because the grass took off amazingly well after we got that rain. We were on a 50-day round, so we didn't need them yet, so I've actually saved them both, and I'm going to graze them with the cows once we dry off. So sort of end of May, early June, we'll graze them with the cows, break feed them, and I'll talk to Greg about it and get a bit more advice, but I don't know whether I want to leave them in here for 24 hours, whether I maybe break feed it and then send them back to their break to have grass and hay and that sort of stuff. We'll see. So they're quite heavy at the moment in brassicas, so the kales come back really well. The plantain and chicory are absolutely amazing. A lot of the grasses have done really well. So prairie grass is a funny one, because prairie grass can actually be quite hard to establish, and that's one of the grasses that's actually doing the best. The clovers are there. It's hard to see at the moment because it just looks like a sea of chicory and rape and stuff, but the clovers are actually doing quite well as well. The other paddock here, being the second one we planted, obviously the second one we grazed, I should say. By the time we grazed that paddock, a lot of the Phacelia had done its growing and was starting to go to seed, and that paddock has just come back absolutely full of Phacelia. So that's a really cool thing. I'm hoping that that will stick around a bit, or that there's still some, say, seed in the ground, and that, you know, next summer we might just get some Phacelia come up. Hopefully that's the idea, is to get these species into your pastures and have them forever. So the whole crop on a whole went so amazingly well. Yeah, like as I said, we had a drought. So basically what I was doing, I put the cows in the paddock, in the crop. I break feed the crop paddock, put them in here in the morning after their morning milking. I'd leave them in here till about lunchtime, and then put them in their into their break for the day. So that just basically took the pressure off off their paddock, main paddock, so they weren't, I think otherwise they would have had their paddock decked by about 10 o'clock in the morning and then just stood around waiting to be fed the next day, and would have grazed their paddocks out a hell of a lot harder. So yeah, so about Christmas time we got the last of our silage paddocks back into the round, and from then onwards we were on a 50-day round. So even through the dry we had a reasonable amount of feed in front of us, not great quality, but we were feeding the cows, keeping them fed. So sort of between the long round and the crop paddocks we were able to get going, keep the cows going, keep them fed, stop us smashing the paddocks too hard. So, and as a result of that, we didn't actually have to start feeding out to the cows till the crop paddocks were finished, which was about the start of March. And by that stage, we were not far away from getting rain. And then, yeah, we were away, and the long round has helped the paddocks recover so well, and the grass at the moment is just amazing. You wouldn't know we had a drought now. It's, it's about the 7th of May. So, in about, say, 6 weeks, I guess, just the difference is just unbelievable. Yeah, so it's been really cool. Really enjoyed the crop paddock, the crop system. I just think it's gone amazingly well. We planted 5 hectares. The reason I did that is 2 paddocks, and it's basically the same area we would normally do for turnips. And I think that's about the right amount for us. We got 40 days out of it, whereas turnips we'd normally get about 60 days. But about the last sort of maybe 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess maybe, of turnips, the quality's really gone usually. The tops have quite often burnt up. I don't think there was a huge loss there. And the fact that, basically as soon as you've grazed it off, it's regrowing. And I mean, we could have been back into it after, say, 40 days, where a turnip paddock, you graze it, then you regrass it. And, for us, we were always a bit too late regrassing them, and, we often wouldn't get a proper grazing off them till sort of September next year, or next season I should say. So paddocks are back in the round. We could have grazed them by now if we'd needed them, or else we've got this huge bulk of feed to feed the cows not long after they dry off. So yeah, it's gone amazingly well. People always ask me, where lots of people have been interested in what we've done, and they just say, how does it compare to turnips? And it's a really hard question to answer because you're not actually growing them for the same reason. So turnips, you want feed through summer and then regrass. It's part of your regrassing system. The crop, you do want feed through summer, but it's also, the benefits to the soil from some of those different plants, the benefits to the pasture, and then the benefit that it is your permanent pasture afterwards as well, so you're not having to spray out, maybe cultivate or direct drill your grasses in and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I think you could probably get, say, 6 tonne to the hectare off the mixed crop from what I've read. I can't say that's 100% right, we didn't measure anything, but that's just a ballpark figure. And say, a mediocre turnip crop, you may have 10 tonne to the hectare, so you've lost a little bit of feed there, but you definitely gain that back in the other benefits of, the pasture. The paddocks are back into the round straight away. You're getting those more other beneficial pasture species into the pasture, which are benefiting the soil and the plants and the animals and the insects and everything. So I think it's definitely ticked all the boxes from what we've wanted to achieve. It's been worked amazingly well, I should say, and yeah, just loved it. Just also the vibe from it, I don't know, turning into an old hippie maybe, but people talk about grounding yourself, and just shifting the crop fence was really cool. It was so tall, so I had to drive a tractor through to squash it down before I could get a fence up. But being out there amongst all the all the insects, all that life, birds in there feeding, the dog chasing around rabbits, and the kids loved coming out, shifting the fence with me and disappearing into the plants and having a sort of a children of the corn moment and stuff in there. So yeah, it sort of, I don't know, felt good, and made you feel good as well. It ticked all our boxes from a feed point of view and a management point of view, and yeah, made me feel like we were doing something good, which was just a cool feeling sometimes. It's cool to have some positivity in farming, but there seems to be so much negativity around, so really, really found that to be beneficial for, I don't know, your mental health maybe. Cool, so I'll just go for a bit of a walk. This is the first paddock we grazed, and so has come back, so this is the one we mowed. I'll just watch where I walk a little bit because there's actually a little bit of stinging nettle in here, but I'm just wearing shorts and it has a habit of finding your exposed shins. I'll just turn the camera around and show you a bit of what's in here. So this is obviously, the chicory has grown back really well. I think that is actually chard. I may be wrong, that might be just more mature chicory, but this is the prairie grass, which is going amazingly well. So as you can see, you know, just panning around, there's still the odd sort of weed in here. You know, there's a bit of nightshade and stuff there, but that won't sort of last past winter. You know, graze it now in winter time, and there'll be a little bit of it come back next spring, but it won't cause a problem, because, you know, if you're grazing the paddock regularly, it keeps it out of it. The reason it's just there is because it's been shut up. So what would this be? February we grazed this, so early May now, so I can't quite do that maths quickly in my head, but it's probably, what would it be, 90 days maybe since it's been grazed. So I just see down here there's some amazing clovers coming away, so that's what I was saying earlier on. I think you can see that there. You know, there's a red clover hiding in under there too, but as you can see, like, you pull that apart, you can't really see the grasses and clovers that much, but they are in there when you see that. So that's going really well. Oh, this is the rapes. The rape's grown back amazingly well. See, some insects have been eating it a little bit, but you see those new leaves still coming through. So there'll be amazing feed value from that. And that'll stick around for quite a long time, that and the chicory and stuff, and the plantain. So yeah, the idea is to, like I said, we'll graze it through winter sort of as a crop, and then it'll just become our pasture in these paddocks as it is. And we'll just see what those grasses do and what those clovers do. I mean, the brassicas will tend to, you know, they don't persist forever, so they'll slowly, you know, get grazed out of the paddock, and the grasses and clovers will hopefully take over, or else, you know, sort of this time next year we might come through and just run through and stitch in a little bit of grass seed just to maybe bulk it up if we need to. If we need to do that. You can see here some of these, it's a bit of daikon radish which has lasted. So that's this one here, it's just going to seed, but it's daikon radish. I should pull one out actually and see what the bulb's like. Oh, it doesn't want to pull out actually. So I feel that that one actually felt like had a big bulb on it. So there probably is some of those big daikon radish plants down there doing their thing of breaking up the soil and that sort of stuff that we wanted. Cool, so just have a wander through in the next paddock now. Again, dodge that stinging nettle. So you'll see we've got a couple of, this are the last stalks of our sunflowers still hanging around. You can see one here that's almost still alive. That one actually had a flower on it until not that long ago, but it's sort of dried up again. Obviously it's not the time of year for sunflowers, but I'll show you, I'll do a bit of a pan. This paddock looks amazing, I just love walking through it, but I'll get Claire to put on some of the photos that we took back in summer, but this was just to see of, at one stage, purple from the phacelia, and then a beautiful, just the sunflowers just looked incredible. As I said, this paddock's come back really strong in the phacelia, so this is the phacelia here, so it comes up, I had to get my old phone out and Google what it was when it first grew, but you know, it looks a bit like a fern, and then as it grows later on, obviously it grows a seed head and beautiful purple flowers, and it just smells incredible. You probably see in the distance there's some buildings just there, so our cow shed's just there on the other side of the river, and it was actually cool. I'd be milking in the morning and I could tell when the cows were hitting the paddock because I could smell the phacelia in the cow shed, so I really enjoyed that. The bees loved it. The bees just absolutely amazing. Claire is allergic to bees, so she didn't enjoy that part as much, but they left me alone. It was just, you'll be walking through and they'll just be absolutely, just almost deafening some days, the buzzing. So, you know, the world's got a shortage of bees, so that actually made us feel really cool that we were doing something to help them, and help, you know, the cows, help the soil, just by incorporating that phacelia in our crop. And yeah, what else is there? So there's some more of the grasses coming back. I think that's possibly the prairie grass again as well. Obviously the chicory is doing really well in this paddock too. There's the rape again. There is the odd chard plant around. I don't think I can see one just standing here looking at it now. There is actually random sunflower growing right there. Oops, I just walked into some stinging nettle. I said it was going to happen. So yeah, there's a sunflower still growing there, so that may have been a seed that perhaps didn't germinate in the springtime, or else, I mean, there was huge seed drop. Actually, I can see another one over there too. They dropped all their seed, and we had a big influx of pigeons at one point, so hopefully they haven't eaten all the seed, but we'll find out. Be really interesting to see what those, you know, the seed from like the sunflowers and stuff, whether any of them grow or whether there's just too much ground cover next summer that they just don't get a chance, but we'll see. But yeah, I'll do another pan here around. I mean, just really enjoy looking at it. Yeah, you can see down there that the chicory and rape really stands out, and the other brassicas you can throw into the other paddock there. So yeah, it's all up around, I don't know, knee to waist height at the moment. There's a huge amount of feed there. So I think even if it turns out the grasses don't come back in quite as well as we had planned them to, I feel like there's going to be a ton of feed here anyway. And I mean, we'll get those grasses into the paddocks somewhere at some point, whether we just leave it and they'll eventually do it themselves, or whether we have to undersow some. We'll just wait and see and find out. But yeah, I just think, is there anything, I don't think there's anything else I want to tell you about the crop paddocks. Just, it was a really, really good experience. I wouldn't have anything negatives to say about it. Sorry again that we didn't film it. Yeah, we just needed to take a bit of a break from filming there. We'd had a couple of family health issues towards the end of last year, and around Christmas time we were just both a bit buggered. And you know, from calving and mating and all that, you know, busy time of the year, we just said let's just take a break. And yeah, we just needed to take a break and regroup. But yeah, I'll definitely get Claire to put some photos up on the video here. It can be, she's a pretty talented lady, so I'm sure she'll work out how to do that. If you have any questions, you know, get in touch and ask us. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to answer your questions, but we'll try. And yeah, next year I'll make sure I do some filming of the crop paddock when it's, you know, in full bloom, and you know, it's up here above my head, full of life. The cows are in there grazing it. We'll make sure we get some more of that. We, as always, really appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate your feedback, and you know, give us a yell if there's anything you want to know, or you know, tell us we should be doing anything differently. It's cool. We're happy for feedback, and we love to learn. But yeah, thanks heaps for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.